club was blasting with music. You were nervously looking around and walking behind your fiancé like a lost puppy. You held his hand, but he jerked away, glaring at you. Johan, why are we here? You almost yelled due to the loud music, trying to match his pace. Shut your mouth, whine, and follow me. He angrily muttered. You just nodded. He made you sit on a chair while a girl came towards Johan. Hey, Johan, she said, hugging him. He looked at them confusingly as they seemed to be really close. Who's she? She said, pointing at you with narrowed eyes. She's mine, and mine this is you, Johan said, wrapping his arm around Yoon's shoulder. Your heart clenched looking at them. You expect Johan to introduce you as his fiancé. Let's go, Johan, they are waiting for you. Yoon said. He nodded without glancing at you. Johan, you said, holding his hand. He jerked it once more. Sit here quietly, I'll be back. Johan said, holding Yoon's hand and walked away. Tears welled up in your eyes. You blinked it away and looked around, feeling someone's gaze piercing your soul. Your eyes met a pair of hazel almond eyes. He was sitting on a chair smoking while two guards were at his each side. He was bloody handsome, but his cold stare made you shiver. You looked away, fisting with your fingers. He seems to be a dangerous guy. You were drowned in your thoughts, thinking about Johan when you felt someone's presence beside you, breaking the chain of your thoughts. You looked at your right where the same hazel eyes were staring at you. You began coughing due to the smoke. Please keep it away, you mumbled, still coughing. What are you doing here alone, princess? He asked in a dead serious tone while crushing the cigarette in an ashtray. I am with my fiancé, please go away. You said, not daring to look into his deadly eyes. He chuckled, making you gulp. Don't be scared of me, princess. By the way, I'm 𝐁𝐮𝐬𝐞𝐽. Chen said with a smile while sipping his drink. Mr. Kim, please, before you could complete, Johan appeared. You stood while Chen leaned back on his chair, looking at both of you curiously. Johan, you said, going towards him. What the hell were you doing with this man? Johan furiously said, glaring at Chen while Chen chuckled. You opened your mouth to speak, but Chen answered him, making out. He said, still with a smirk. Your eyes widened. No, he's lying. I don't even know him. He said, panicked. Johan stayed quiet. Don't panic, princess, I was just kidding. Chen said. Johan sighed. Whatever you do, I don't care, mine. You come with me, Johan said. He looked at him with disbelief. Chen passed him a glare and walked away as his guard whispered something to him. Where are we going? He asked nervously as he was escorting you towards the private area. Come on, wine. Can't you just shut your mouth for a second? Johan yelled at you. Enough, Johan. I am quiet doesn't mean you can insult me in every single minute. You yelled back at him. He grabbed your elbow harshly. Before Johan could say something, a guy entered. By his outfit, you assumed him to be the guard. Boss is coming, he informed Johan, who smiled and nodded. The guard walked out while Johan turned towards him. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I want to end this engagement. I'm fed up of all this stupid drama. I was forced from day one. I don't even like you. You're not my type. I'll be honest. I needed money. You're not rich enough, so I sold you. He completed, taking off his ring with a smirk. He stood shocked at his confession. Bye, sweetheart, he said and walked out. You came back to your senses and ran after him, but the guard got the hold of you. Leave me, bastard, you yelled at him, giggling in his grip. You pushed him and ran towards the dance floor where Johan was kissing you. You grabbed his shoulder and turned him around. Before he could understand, you placed a hard slap on his cheek. Jerk, you yelled while crying and ran away as the guards were running after you. You were running at the backyard and looking behind you when you stumbled. Stop there, one of the guards yelled, pointing his gun at you. While everyone's eyes were on you, you were taking steps back while continuously shaking your head as no. I will shoot you, the guard said. A gunshot was heard with a splash of water. I need them in my basement. Then grabbed at his guards and jumped into the swimming pool as you were almost drowning. You felt a muscular arm wrapped around your waist, and the next moment you were sitting on the floor, "Hey, princess," Sam whispered in a soft tone. You looked at him, still tears running down your face. "Please drop me at my house," you said in a trembling voice. Sam nodded, looking at you affectionately, and gestured his guard to bring the car out the back door. Sam helped you to stand. You were walking, feeling numb and soon everything blacked out. 3 days later, you are running fever for 3 days. You are in Thames Mansion. You felt broken, story which has ended. I'll hold you if you fall apart, 𝐻𝐿 said softly. You pulled out and looked at him. Why are you doing this to me? You asked him. 𝐻𝐿 wiped your cheeks. Will you believe me if I say it was love at first sight? The day I saw you in the club, I couldn't take my eyes off you. I want to spend my entire life with you. I want you to let your soul be mine and let my soul be yours. He said, cupping your face. You stared at him. He never thought someone could confess their love in such beautiful words. I need to get over everything, you said. 𝐻𝐿 pressed his forehead with yours. I don't want to force you or rush things. Take your time, he said, kissing your cheek. You nodded. It's been more than 10 days you are living with 𝐻𝐿. You resumed working in his office again. 𝐻𝐿 treats you as if you are a treasure. You feel safe and comfortable around him. Your bond grew deeper. Now you made a bed for Grandma and made her sit when the door knocked. Come in, Grandma said. The door opened, revealing 𝐻𝐿. He passed you a smile which you responded back. You sat beside Grandma while 𝐻𝐿 sat on the opposite chair. How are you, Grandma? 𝐻𝐿 said, holding her hand. I'm fine, but you seem to be stressed. She softly said with a smile. 𝐻𝐿 cleared his throat to speak while you watched him intently. No, I'm fine. I just came to meet you, he said, holding her hand. She nodded. You went to your room to do your night routine while 𝐻𝐿 sat with Grandma for a while. Time skip. You did your night routine and came to your room. You stopped seeing 𝐻𝐿 lying on your bed with closed eyes. 𝐻𝐿, do you need something? You said, going towards him. 𝐻𝐿 opened his eyes and sat straight. You, he said. He was stealing your heart with his gaze. What? You mumbled, confused by his gaze. 𝐻𝐿 shook his head and stood in front of you. I mean, I wanted to talk to you, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You gestured him to continue with a racing heartbeat. 𝐻𝐿 held your both hands. I'm going on a mission tomorrow. Take care of yourself, 𝐻𝐿 said and paused while you stared at him anxiously. For me, he said, placing his right palm on your left cheek. When will you come back? You asked, looking down while blinking away your tears. 𝐻𝐿 stared at you for a while. Don't know, maybe never, he mumbled. You snapped your head and looked at him. What? You almost whispered. 𝐻𝐿 nodded and sighed. You might be sleepy. I will leave. Good night, 𝐻𝐿 said, placing a soft peck on your forehead while you stood froze. Maybe never was ringing in your mind while 𝐻𝐿 walked out. You looked at the closed door. Tears began flowing down your cheeks. You didn't have words to say what you were feeling. You sat on the floor, crying your heart out. Next day, you woke up with puffy eyes and did your morning routine. You made your way towards the dining room. Grandma was already seated while the maid was serving her. Good morning, you said dryly. Grandma was gazing at you intently. Good morning. 𝐻𝐿's voice diverted her attention. Good morning. What happened to both of you? Didn't you both sleep well last night? Grandma said. Both of you glanced at each other. 𝐻𝐿's eyes were red as if he didn't sleep last night. No, I slept well, both of you said in unison. Grandma just nodded. All of you began eating in silence. The maid walked Grandma to her room. You were waiting for 𝐻𝐿, who was busy on a call. After a few minutes, he ended the call. I will leave, he said, standing while you also stood. 𝐻𝐿 made his way towards the main door while you followed him. With each step, you felt your heartbeat racing. 𝐻𝐿, you said and stopped while tears brimmed in your eyes. He hummed and turned towards you. You took quick steps and wrapped your arms around his neck, taking him off guard. 𝐻𝐿 wrapped his arms around you. Hey, why are you crying? 𝐻𝐿 asked, stroking your hair softly. You snuggled into his neck. After a few moments, you stopped crying. Will you come back? You mumbled over his neck. You cut him off, not maybe. Promise me you will come back for me, please, you said, looking at him. 𝐻𝐿 smiled and nodded. I promise, he said. I will wait. I want to deepen our relationship, you softly said, placing your palm on his cheek. 𝐻𝐿 held your hand and kissed the back of your hand. I will come soon. You don't have to go to the office until I return, and take care. Thanks said. He joined your forehead with his. Who will look after the company? You asked. Josh. If you need anything, tell him and don't go anywhere without guards. Thanks said, cupping your face. You nodded with closed eyes. After a few moments, Thanks spoke. Wine, I must leave now, he said. You looked down and stepped back, holding back your tears. Bye, he said. You looked at him. Bye, you whispered, kissing him on the cheek. Thank turned around and made his way out. He knew if he looked at you, he won't be able to leave. 1 month later, since Thayon left, he called you 2 to 3 times from a private number. Since the last phone call, you don't know how is he, where is he. You asked Josh, but he also knew nothing. You shifted to Thayon's room to feel his presence, and she said, Grandma is worried for you. You zone out all the time and stare at everything blankly. You feel emotionless. The thought of losing Thayon snatches away your soul. Now you were lying on Thayon's bed thinking about Thayon when you felt soft fingers stroking your hair. You opened your eyes and saw Grandma smiling softly at you. Were you thinking about Thayon? She asked, kissing your forehead. You nodded with a blank face. Look at yourself, Wayne. What have you become? How will he feel if he saw you in this state? She said. You let out a heavy breath and said, He broke the promise, Grandma, you said with teary eyes. I totally forget. I came to tell you that you have to go somewhere, Grandma said. You looked at her. Where? You asked confusingly. Josh said you have to go to Thayon's business partner, Mr. Chui's house. He was married a few days ago. You will congratulate them and apologize on behalf of Thayon. Grandma said. You looked at her with wide eyes. But how can I go? I mean, why? No, I can't. You said before Grandma could speak. The door opened, revealing Josh. You have to go, ma'am. Boss will be happy, Josh said. You went silent, hearing Thayon's name. But Josh interrupted you. Boss introduced you as his girlfriend, so yeah, they know you, Josh said. You looked at him surprised. These are your dress and cosmetics. I have appointed a beautician for you. All the best, Josh said, placing the shopping bags on the couch and walked out while you glanced at Grandma. She nodded with a smile. Time skipped. The beautician did your makeup and hairstyle. You wore off-shoulder, off-white color frock, which came down your knees. You looked at your reflection. You looked gorgeous, but the glow in your eyes was missing. Josh sent you with the driver. You arrived to the penthouse with a flower bouquet. You nervously stood in front of the door and rang the bell. After a few seconds, the door opened. You knitted your brows as it was dark inside. You were about to leave, thinking you might have come to the wrong house, when you saw a sticky note on the door. Come inside, you are at the right location. You read it and glanced at the door curiously. Should I go in? You thought and denied going in. But the next moment you stepped past the door curiously. It was all dark. The door closed behind you, making you flinch. You turned around and were about to run towards the door. The light came on and you were showered with flowers. You stood frozen at your spot looking at the flowers. Happy birthday, princess. You froze hearing this voice behind you. Tears brimmed in your eyes. You stood still for a few moments until you felt his hot breath fanning your neck. The flower bouquet fell from your hands. Princess, as he said, you turned around and hugged him. Thayon, you mumbled while crying. Thayon held you tight, hugging back as if you will disappear. I missed you, he said. I missed you too, but you stopped and pulled out. You broke the promise, you said, and began hitting his chest with your fist while sniffing. Thayon chuckled. I'm back. I didn't broke it, he said, holding your hands. You looked at him. His face was pale red eyes, yet he looked handsome. They released your hands and wiped your tears. Who did this? You said, pointing around. Josh helped me. I wanted to surprise you, he said, looking at you affectionately. Josh knew you are back? You asked. He nodded. Yes, Mr. Chui was an excuse to bring you here, he said, kissing your nose. Let's cut the cake, Thayon said, holding your hand. You cut the cake and looked around with a soft smile. Princess, you turned around and saw Thayon on his knees, holding a ring box. Your mouth gaped in surprise. Will you Thank you so much. You don't know how I'm lucky and grateful to have you. I love you. You said, looking into his deep eyes. Thanks stared at you affectionately, making you skip a beat. You slowly leaned